But anyway, Proverbs 8:30 says, "Then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him." I was daily his delight. Isn't that wonderful? You know, what I'd like to happen for all you churches that are represented here, I'd like that there be a new spirit when the ladies walk in the church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. I'd like to think that all the churches represented here, that there be just a new spirit, that when they walk in, you be bubbling and helping create a positive spirit. Do you know that when I listen to people talk, I shake my head? Now, I don't say amen. You know, I did to you a couple times, maybe to Miss Amanda once. But it's a women's meeting. I can say amen. You know, I'm thinking about getting a handkerchief out and doing this, you know. But I shake my head a lot. Now, you know what? Sometimes, because I'm trying to be so much a good listener for the preacher, do you know how hard it is to preach to you all? Especially when you're sitting there going, you know, that's really hard on a preacher. So I just try to, and do you know what? An evangelist gets to hear the same, evangelist wife gets to hear the same sermons a lot, right? But I always get something out of my husband's sermons. Not because I haven't heard the sermon before. I could probably preach the sermon before. But because I say, Lord, give me something in this sermon. You know, it's all in your attitude. You know that, right, ladies? So, when we talk about stress, though, what is stress? The state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. Mrs. Houston, I was going to say Miss Julie, but then I started Mrs., so I had to go Houston. Mrs. Houston said she's had the loss of 6 people, family members. Now, you have a survey that just got passed out to you. I'd like you to take that survey right now. Just take a few minutes and go through in the last year. Julie, you can only count in the last year. But the last year, you're supposed to count up the amount of points that you have from that stress inventory. Okay? Now, as you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit. Stress really is only stress according to your response to it. You know, you decide whether this is a very stressful situation. Like, for some people, running a meeting like this would be very stressful. But I've chosen to say, I'm excited. I can't wait for this to start. I can't wait for this to go on. And I'm watching the schedule and I'm saying, oh, I love this, that we get to do this. And, so it's not stressful. And it's wonderful. So these life situations, though, can I tell you, some of them are very hard. Very, very hard. All you widows sitting out there that have lost somebody in the last year, it's very hard. That's 100 points worth of stress. So after you finish, there's 43 things. I printed this off the internet. I've used it years and years and years, the same stress inventory. Wow, it's taken a while, isn't it? Were you done? Were you done? No? You don't have a pen? There's one here. Anybody else need a pen? There's some on the Lord's Supper table. Very interesting. So stress is only stress according to response to it. The threat to your health is not in the stress itself, but your reaction to that stress. Are you fighting against it? You know, this goes hand in hand with what Miss Amanda was talking about change. Are you fighting against it? Are you saying this shouldn't be like this? Then that you're causing your own stress, and it's going to affect your health. What are some stressors, the common stressors that people have? Not enough hours in the day. You know, you're busy. You can't get enough done. I took on this project because I can't say no. There are some people in here that you have created a lot of stress in your own life because you don't know how to say no. Now, can I say this to you? I want you to get this. If you don't say no and it hurts your family, I don't think that's just stress. I think that's sin. You know, some people need to figure out what your priorities are and keep your priorities. Those of you that have little kids, it's very important that you make those kids number one. Husband first, then the kids. So, let's be careful about that. Then, how about this as a stressor? I can't cope with life. You know, whatever your life has dealt you right now, you can't cope with it. How about this? My blank expects too much of me. You might have somebody in your life. I remember one time I was counseling a lady, and her mother lived next door. Now let me just tell you this. She could never please her mother. Some of you have extended family members. You're not under obligation to please your extended family members. Can I say that to you? So this lady said to me, my mother lives door, I can never do anything right, and I go over there and she tells me what I'm doing wrong, and it's just a stress. And I said, you know what? You got to just decide you will never please your mother. And I said, when you go over there, walk in knowing she's going to pick you apart. You know, that reaction to that person that you can't please will relieve you of some stress. Okay? Then the next one, I can't pay my bills. Now that's a stressor. And that's really hard. Someone at work got a pay raise. That you can put stress on yourself because you are comparing yourself to somebody else. They got a pay raise and I didn't. Another one, I didn't get chosen for a certain position. Have you ever been in a choir and somebody else got chosen to lead the cantata and you let it bother you? That's a stressor. I don't plan meals. Oh, this is the hard one. I don't plan meals and feel terrible that my family eats fast food too much. Hot dogs are your best friend, right? That's really hard. I don't take time to take care of myself and feel bad about my personal experience. Now, I'm not gonna stay there because I don't take care of myself that well as far as my personal appearance. I look good today because I really worked at it for you. But can I tell you? Can I say this to you? Have you ever went to your closet and you start going through the closet and it's something that you picked out more like 4 weeks ago to church? Now, I'm very blessed because my closet's about this big. I have 2 outfits that I wear at ladies' meetings this spring, and then I'll get 2 outfits that I wear, and then I only have like 5 or 6 dress outfits. You know, I'm pretty blessed that I don't have that much to choose, but I'm in a different church every week, so nobody sees me. I don't post on social media that much because you'll see the same outfits all the time. I'm blessed, aren't I? But anyway, so you go to the closet, and you just wore it 4 weeks ago, and you get it out, and you put it on, and you're like me, you're a good Baptist, so you look in the full-length mirror, see, is this, and then when you get in the mirror, you walk around, you just don't look, you know, like, suck in everything, like, oh yeah, it looks good. No, you look and you move around, you know, and all that stuff, and you say, nope, too tight, you take it off. So then you get another outfit, it's a shirt you wore, you get it out and put it on, oh, nope, that's too tight too. Okay, then you get something else out and you put it on, no, it's too tight. Then your kid comes in and says, Mom, what's for breakfast? Oh, just go find you some cereal, I don't care. Now, the kid didn't do anything, right? You're all stressed out because you don't find any clothes that you think fits you right? So when we don't take care of ourselves, do you know why on the airplanes they always say to put your mask on first? You know why? Because when you take care of yourself, then you're better able to take care of everybody around you. I'm just asking you, do you need to do something different about your taking care of yourself? That's what I'm saying about this. I mean to read my Bible and have made the decision many times, but can't seem to get in the habit of it. I love that you confess that to us, Miss Cindy. That made Miss Cindy real to me. You know, that she felt embarrassed when Cindy Hall called her and asked her that. You ought to admire somebody that would get up, that's in her position and has been living for God as long as she has, that would admit that she had a time in her life when she didn't. But her confessing it should say to you, look, if you have a problem, find a system. Then, not only should you find a system, but instead of stressing yourself out about it, get you some accountability to someone. You know, we have access to everybody with our phones nowadays. So you can find a way to make sure you're reading your Bible. But it won't be stressful to you. You don't have to sit here feeling guilty because you've been reading your Bible if you'll get some accountability. How about this one? I feel like a failure. Boy, can I tell you, I don't know why, but last year I gave up ironing shirts. Anybody ever given up ironing shirts? Have you ever given it up? A whole year, Miss Joyce. And Then, now my husband's, wears all these Western clothes. And he bought some shirts last fall that have to be ironed. I'm one of those, are y'all like me? I dry them and then I hang them up real fast so that all the wrinkles are out of it, But there are some shirts that need pressing. So, I kept putting them in the back of his closet. You all laugh because you've done this before. Well, I gave up ironing, and then Kevin, and he got underneath where I keep the iron, he pulled it out, he said, "Look at this, Loretta." I said, "What?" He said, "We still have an iron." You know what I said to him, don't you? This is what I love about being an empty nester. I can say whatever I want to him. There's no kids around that have to act all respectful and nice. We tease each other, And so I said, you know how to iron too. When you were in college, I knew how to iron a shirt. And he said, "It's not my job. Are you going to go out and change the oil in the motorhome?" And I said, "No." He said, "Then you are going to iron my shirts." I said, "Yes, sir." So that was the first time he said something. Well, the Lord used that to say, "Loretta, pick up your iron again." I said, "Lord, I'm too busy." I got all this and I started listing all the things I had to do to the Lord. Are you all like, I argue with God. I don't know if you do or not. I do. But Lord, I got this and this and this. And does he really need them ironed? Can't he just wear the ones that don't need ironing? I thought all this was good thinking. But the next week, Kevin came to me and he said, "Look, I want to wear this shirt. I've had it for 2 months and I haven't been able to wear it." I said, "It looks good to me." It looks good to me. Just wear a vest with it. Oh, show the wrinkles. Oh, I get so tickled up myself. Can you tell? Anyway, so he said, "No, please." And so I got the ironing board out and I ironed the shirt. And I've taken back up ironing shirts. Praise God. But it took a lot for me to take it back up. Do you know what I mean? But it's just like I kept convincing myself that I didn't need to iron shirts. Do you all do that to yourselves? I don't need to do that. Then you feel bad about it. You feel like a failure. I felt like a failure. I can't even take care of my husband. He needs his shirt signed. And I don't even care. And I really didn't care. But anyway. But when he started teasing me about it, I got sensitive. Right? And then I started feeling like a failure as a wife. And I'm not taking care of him. And he's got these favorite shirts. And he bought 2 of them last year that are just horrible to press. And some of his pants are like this. He'll pull them out and say, "What is this?" I said, "It's your pants. You picked them out." But they're the kind that don't come out all nice. They're wrinkly. Yuck. Anyway, that's his fault, not mine. But anyway. But do you understand what I'm saying? You feel like a failure in some area of your life because you let it go. That's a stressor to you. I don't allow myself enough time to get somewhere and find myself late all the time. Anybody? Don't raise your hand on this one. Because your friends in your row already know you do that. They were waiting in the parking lot for you. And they said, "Why didn't we tell her 30 minutes earlier so she'd be here on time?" No, I'm kidding. Now, bad stress, let me explain this to you. Bad stress makes you tired, anxious, confused, upset, and distracted. Do you know David was distracted? Psalm 88:15. Psalm 88:15. "I am afflicted and ready to die." David said this. And from my youth up, while I suffer thy terrors, I am distracted. Being really stressed out does distract you. It affects your spirit. It hurts you, ladies, and I'm trying to help you to not let yourself be stressed out. Figure out some of these things that you need to fix in your life and fix them. If the Holy Spirit, while I was listing some of the stuff, said, "Yeah, you do that." And we're not talking about making major changes. Like, take for instance, I think drinking water gives you more energy. I don't know. I know that when I'm on an airplane, I drink a couple of things. We don't like to drink that much water because what makes us have to be in the bathroom all the time. But drinking water is really good for you. Well, some people, you need to take that on. And maybe that will give you more energy. You're just tired all the time. Find something that might improve whatever it is that you're thinking, I'm tired. this, I'm that, confused, whatever it is. So, good stress, though, makes you excited and have a sharp mind. So I'm trying to get you to get to the point where you have good stress. Now, how do we fix this? Number one, recognize the stressors. What makes you feel stressed out? Is it because you don't say no? Have you put undue pressure on yourself because you're comparing yourself to somebody? I always have the illustrations. You know that, don't you? Well, 2 years ago, my 2 sons used to travel with us, and the grandkids were with us on the road. So I had a one-on-one relationship with all of these grandkids. Well, they decided they were supposed to go do something else, so they came off the road. They're not traveling with us anymore. So I had ran into a lady in Oklahoma that was one of those long-distance grandmothers that you always want to be like. Y'all know what I mean by that? Every month she sent something to her grandkids. She was creative and did all these things, and so as soon as they come off the road, I started putting stress on myself. I got to keep these kids liking me. So I started putting pressure on myself that I got to send them this and send them that. Well then, okay, now I always am very honest with people when I talk because I want you to know how bad I am. So then, if I said something and then my adult kids didn't say anything to me about receiving the box, if the kids liked it, then I put all this pressure on them that they got this box and never let me know until a week later. I'm thinking, I've been waiting all week for you to let me know you got the box. And I ran the track and I know you got it, You all laughing because you know what I'm saying, don't you? So I put this pressure on myself to be this ideal grandmother that I heard this lady doing it. But I put that on myself. What are you putting on yourself? What is your stressor? Are you trying to be like somebody? There are some people that can do more than others. I really believe I am that kind of a person. I run Christian Womanhood. I help my husband in a major ministry. We traveled. I drove 5 hours Monday morning, got to a church, set up the motorhome, got in a car, drove another hour to the airport, flew 2 hours, came here, drove another hour. I mean, that's a lot of going, but I'm used to it. And there are some people maybe in your life that do more than you do. But why are you comparing yourself to them? What is your stressor, ladies? Try to recognize it. Because that stressor might make you be a witchy person. I try to be careful when I say that word because I don't want to say the other word that's a bad word for us Baptists to say. You know what I mean? Witchy. I called an old lady a biddy one time. It didn't come out right. It was bad. It was really bad. Now I want you to take one shoe off. Take one shoe off. You're gonna. If you don't have a. If you have. You don't have to take shoe off. You got sandals on, of course. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a phenomenon called a Morgan's toe. Anybody heard of this before? Morgan's toe? You have? Good for you. Morgan's toe. Now, when you take your shoe off, put your foot flat. If your second toe is a little longer than your big toe, you have a Morgan's toe. Okay? Now you say, what significance is that, Loretta? Well, there's proof. There's proof. A chiropractor taught this to me. He told it to somebody I know and love that is a witchy person. And he said that because you have Morgan's toe, you stand, you walk, everything's a little different for you because you put undue pressure on that second toe, and it makes you what? Witchy. So now you all have an excuse why you're a witchy person. Go home and say, honey, this is why you have a witchy wife. Now don't go home and look at his toes and tell him he's witchy. You're shaking your head, you're going to do it, aren't you? Huh? She said, I got it, I know how to tell him what his problems are. Lydia, don't you dare go home and do that to Ed. I can see it in your eyes. But being serious, what is your stressor? Do you know you're supposed to clean your house and you just let it go? Do you know you're supposed to plan meals and you just don't plan them? We're getting down on the bottom shelf here and saying, ladies, fix what it is. Try to plan a way to dig yourself out of the hole. Like I started ironing shirts. Whatever it is that's your stressor that is causing you to be not what you're supposed to be at home. Change. That's what these meetings are for. We're supposed to be helping you. We're supposed to be encouraging you in a very practical way to make the spirit of your home a better place by you being a happier person. Will you take on that, Philemon, and you be a refreshment to everybody you come in contact in your home all the time? Number 2, how do you overcome this? When stressed, decide what you're going to focus on. When you are stressed, don't focus on the things you don't get done. Focus on the things you do get done. I make a list every day. And there's lots on the list I don't get done. I just put it on the list the next day. And I don't think about, I didn't get that done, I didn't get that done. And I have people email me, and I have people texting me, and I have people calling. And can I tell you, the phone can be a stressor.
Yeah.
You know, do you all have people in your life that if you don't answer their texts, well, you mad at me? You know, what's the matter? You know, and if you don't send the right emoji, oh my. You know, I don't know what all these emojis mean. I'm still learning them. I don't know if you know this, I'm old. I like being old, though. I want to stay being old. And I'm going to have that excuse why I don't send the right emoji. You know, but people send all these, and I think, I don't know what they mean, you know. And sometimes I wonder if I'm sending a bad one, you know, to somebody. They're going to think so I got to be careful. But don't let that phone stress you. You know, if you have people in your life that they demand you answer a text right away, just say, I'm sorry, I'm not around my phone all the time. You know, we used to be able to say, I didn't know you called.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore, can you? No. Because we all have caller ID. We all know who's calling. You know, I can't say I didn't know you called because I'd be lying. I haven't figured out a way to lie, you know, to tell them that anything that'll make them happy, so I just have to say, I'm sorry, I didn't call you back. You know, but can I just say, don't let it be a stressor to you. Don't let people, outside people, make those demands on you. Whatever that stressor is, find a way to fix it. So decide what you're going to focus on. Bible says in Psalm 77:14, Thou art the God that doest wonders. Thou hast declared thy strength among the people. Last year, I had a bad mammogram. My mom's had breast cancer. My sister had breast cancer. You know, it's genetics. I've never done that test because I know when you have relatives that have this much cancer, you just know I got that, whatever that is. So when I do get a mammogram every year. I have ever since I turned 40, so that's 25 years this year that I've done a mammogram every year. And I had a bad mammogram. Well, you know how that is. They say, you got something. And so for 2 weeks, I waited to be able to get another, they could do an ultrasound mammogram when they think something's wrong. But it was 2 weeks because I have to fly wherever I am to get the mammograms, and then I have to fly back to get, it's just complicated. You know what I mean? For those 2 weeks, Miss Cindy, it kept creeping in my mind. Now, Loretta, if you got cancer, what are you going to do? You go off the road? Yeah. No, I didn't think that way. I stopped. But every time it came in my mind, I chose not to focus on it. Do you know you can control your mind? Bringing into captivity every thought. You know, to keep yourself from thinking the wrong thoughts, you have to be in control of your mind. You know, some of you just let your mind go crazy. He's not here. I wonder if he's been in an accident. You just cause so much stress on your lives. And it makes you not pleasant to be around. So I'm telling you, be careful what you're focused on. Do you have things like that just don't work out? You know, a year ago when Miss Ruth Ann was traveling with us, I was driving a motorhome. Miss Ruth Ann was traveling with us. She was riding in the motorhome with me. Her husband was driving another vehicle that we have. My husband was driving his motorhome. And so I'm driving around Indianapolis, Indiana, and the rear end of that motorhome fell out while I was driving it.
Oh boy.
I got off the side of the road. Miss Ruth Ann, can I tell about that? So Miss Ruth Ann was with me, and this was planned. It's in my notes. You can see. I'm not doing it to embarrass you, but so something had happened. I don't remember if I don't tell the story correctly, but anyway, the refrigerator came out and she had beef stew that flew all over the floor. So we just went through a catastrophic event in our lives with the motorhome losing its rear end. You know, and I don't know if you know this or not, but a motorhome can't be towed backwards. you have to tow a motorhome from the front. Well, with the back end down like that, they couldn't tow it. So it took hours to just find a company. Now, praise God, we were in Indianapolis, Indiana, which was a big town. And we had to get a company to come on a Saturday night at probably around 8 or 9 o'clock, right? Then we still had a couple hours to get to our next meeting. So this is a stressful thing, right? So as soon as it happened, her and I were helping them move out of that motorhome because we knew they were not going to be living in it anymore, and cleaning up the beef stew on the ground. It was just, like it could have been just awful. But we just kept going. That's what you do. I didn't focus on the fact that we had a mess on the floor. I didn't focus on the fact that what's going to happen to this motorhome. So they had to bring 2 cranes, ladies, and wrap the cranes around where the tires are on that motorhome. And they had to lift the motorhome up like this with those 2 cranes. And then while they had it up in the air, a lowboy trailer backed underneath it. And that's how they moved that motorhome. You know how much the tow bill was? $13,000. It was awful. It was a stressful thing. So then the worst part about it, fast forward, we kept calling the guy. On a Saturday night, you don't get to ask where to put it. We just asked the towing company, who do you think would fix something like this? And so we took it to this company. Well, they kept on messing with us and not fixing it. And it was just awful. I'm just telling you, it was awful. That was in August. June of the next year. Finally, we called the insurance company and they said, you can move it to another place. They paid another $13,000 to move that motorhome to another place, and we found somebody and they fixed it. It took a whole year. Do you know, all year long, every time it came to my mind, I said, Lord, I don't want to lose $50,000 motorhome. It's an old motorhome, but if it just sits there and never gets fixed, it's just like flushing $50,000 down the drain. You know what I'm saying? It was stressful. But every time it came to my mind, I just said, okay, Lord, I'm going to just trust you with this. That's what we need to do. When you're in a stressful situation, and you don't know how it's going to get fixed. You don't know how it's going to ever come to end. How's this ever going to end? And a lot of us live in those kind of situations. But you just got to not let it stress you out. You got to say, I am not going to, you just control your mind. Now the third thing I want to say to you is the most important thing, and I've kept it last because I don't know how well you'll take it, but I want to tell you something. A lot of women sitting in the sound of my voice, you have hormone issues. You know that? You don't even know how to fix it. And I feel sorry for you because when I turned 40, the pause, menopause, the pause that does not refresh. Pause is supposed to refresh, but it doesn't refresh me. When I turned 40, I started getting migraine headaches. Horrible, horrible migraine headaches. Now, let me just tell you, when your hormones are imbalanced, things don't look right to you. My mind, when those girls that are pregnant, when you're pregnant, the hormones are all out of whack and you think crazy thoughts. Can I tell you a story about when we lived here in Dwight, Illinois, and I was pregnant with my first child, Jeannie Mae. Kevin wanted to go to Chicago and see some old bus kids. So, I'm great with child. We go to Chicago, and it's hot, and we go into these, and one of the kids was watching that E.T. movie where they put something in the microwave and it blew up, you know what I mean? And all this gunk went flying over, and I was feeling like throwing up, you know what I'm talking about when you're pregnant. It's just nothing's right. So it's hot, that's going on. So we get back in the car, and I said, Kevin, I just need something to drink. So he goes into a station, and back in those days, you know how that is when you didn't have money. And he just could get one drink. Do you know what he got? A cherry Coke. He knows I hate cherry Coke. It's too sweet, sickening sweet. So, then you say, how do you know he knows? I've told him, but do you think he even remembers what I've told him, right? So he goes in and gets his cherry Coke. So, he comes out, I take a little sip to be gracious, and then we're driving back toward Dwight, and he wasn't paying attention to my sadness. Are y'all with me on this? So I remember as this young bride, a woman that been married a couple of years, I start looking out the window, and he's talking all about these bus kids, and I'm thinking, I don't care about the bus kids. I care about having a drink, I didn't feel that way at that point. I could tell you more stories about when I felt like he cared more about other things than me. It just burned me up. But anyway, so I'm looking out the window, and all of a sudden I said, he's not paying attention. So I started, you know, you can turn on the tears, right? You know that? So I started crying, and all of a sudden he said, are you crying? I said, yes. And he said, what? I said, because you got that cherry Coke. You know, the men, they don't know what to say when you think things like this, right? They don't realize it's not just that you got cherry Coke, it's the fact that you didn't care about what I like, and you only get one drink, and, you know, we add all these things together, don't we? But you know, most of the time we do that when we are hormonal. You know that? Some of you need to take advantage of all the apps that tell you when the time of the month's coming. You know, I used to count down 28 days. I kept track. When it was going to happen, I said, be careful, Loretta. Today's the day. You laugh, but it's true. I don't even like to drive a lot when it was. Now, praise God, I'm in my 60s. I've lost that ability. It's wonderful. I recommend it to everybody. Don't have a hysterectomy to do it, but go ahead and get old. It's good. But anyway, when I turned 40, I started having these migraines. Well, so many times we just want to take a pill to fix whatever the problem is, like hot flashes or whatever the migraines. Well, I didn't want to do that. I knew there was something imbalanced. That's why I was having so many problems. So I started researching. I read 20 books on menopause. Have you ever thought about how much you have the ability at your hands to research and find out what's causing me to do this? You know, we just need to fix some of these things. But don't just fix the symptoms. Fix the problem. Find out why you have a hard time every 28 days. And what can I do to be more careful so that I'm not making my family miserable? And they're saying, hey, what's the temperature in there? Is mom good or bad? You know the old saying, when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy? Well, that's because of our hormones. You know that, right? It's not because we're not good people. It's because we're so cycle people. We're so cycle people. So I want to say this to you. Did I say something wrong?
Psycho.
Oh yeah, you're psycho too. I meant cycle, C-Y-C-L-E. But psycho fits you. Take it, ladies. Now you know why we can laugh? Some of you really have serious hormone problems, and I'm begging you to go find somebody that can help you. So I told you what all I did. I started a regimen of vitamins. Then the Lord brought me back to Dwight, and Brother Woodward introduced me to Pharmanex, Life Packs, and Estera. It helped me. For 7 whole years, I had migraines. Do you know how much of my life I missed with my children? You know how much you miss by not taking care of yourself and not doing something about your hormone imbalances? You know, research, find out what things you have in your life that are not normal, and try to find a way to overcome them. So I got on the Pharmanex Life Packs with Estera, and that took away all my migraine headaches. Magically, Kevin got to be a better person when I was around him. My kids, I loved them again, all over again. Ladies, I'm just begging you. If there's something wrong with your hormones, do something about it. Don't make excuses. And don't, you know, I put probably $3,000 to $4,000 on a credit card trying to find answers. Back in those days, we didn't have enough money for me to go. I did all these different kinds of doctors. It was just a lot. But I'm telling you, whatever you do, you need to do to help you to be what you need to be for your family. It's worth it. Now I've got brochures down here of something I do now. It's called BioT Natural Hormone Replacement. Just take a brochure. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. The doctor I use is 90 miles away from here, and no matter what, I do blood tests every year of my life because the life is in the blood. Some of you have never been to a doctor, don't know blood tests, you don't know what your hormones are, you don't know if you're up or down or in and out, and you don't know if your thyroid's good or bad. You just don't know a lot of it because you just say, oh, I'm okay, and I don't have the money. Well, then your family's saying, go spend the money sorry, Mom, we want you back the way you used to be. So I'm asking you, are you stressed? Do you relate to some of the problems that I've been talking about? Do you need help in any of the areas that I've talked about? Can I say, can I beg you to do something about it? Find you a doctor that cares. You know, sometimes you just need to get, I remember way back when this was all going on, I'd call Mrs. Evans. I said, I tried this. And she said, well, what else have you researched and found? I said, well, this said this. She said, spend the money, go try and do it. You know, I needed somebody to push me because you get weary trying to do it on your own, don't you? So find you a buddy that'll help inspire you and help you. But for goodness sake, I beg you, are you stressed out? Are you having problems? Does your family sort of avoid you a lot? It might be, you know, it might just be that you got some physical problems going on. That might be fixable. You know, it's not always everything they're doing. It could be something that's not working right inside you. That's all I'm trying to do today. Is let's be careful about those stressors. Let's be more conscious about them so that we can fix them. So that you can be all that you're supposed to be for the Lord, and you can be somebody that refreshes people. Always want to be what they need you to be. Don't waste. Some of you have a child at home. You only have a few more years. You know, while mine were still at home, every little bit I'd look at it and say, Lord, I only got them in here for 2 more years. I only got them in here for this many more days. You just got days now, don't you, Jane, to have Weston? You got to be your best for Weston. These last few days that you have him in your house. You just got to think that way, ladies. Don't say, oh, they'll be okay. No, they need you to refresh them. And it's important that you have the strength and the ability to. I do want to push something Miss Joyce has on her table back there, a CD about hormone havoc. Is that what's it called? That's what it was. Menopausal mania. And I think you talk more about spiritual things on it, maybe. But that's good. Maybe it is a spiritual problem and you need more of the Bible to help you overcome it. But if it's a physical problem, let me just tell you, you got to get some help. Let's have a word of prayer. Father, thank you for these ladies and the chance I had to speak to